know, there's something not right here. My TV guide says that there is Monday Night Nitro tonight at 8 o'clock on TNT, 3 hours long, yet I can't find it. Well, I guess there's only one thing to do. Well, if we can't watch wrestling, let's at least talk wrestling. And today we're going to look back at WCW nWo action figures. Growing up, I was a huge wrestling fan. I'm talking WWF, WCW, AWA, Florida wrestling, anything that I could watch wrestling, I watched. Even growing up for Halloween, me and my dad even dressed up as the Road Warriors one Halloween. It was a great time to be a wrestling fan in the 80s and the 90s. But by far my favorite wrestling organization of all time was WCW. I think it really had a lot to do with my favorite wrestler of all time, Sting, being there the entire time. And even this t-shirt I have on is an authentic nWo t-shirt that I got at a Monday Night Nitro in 1998. The day that the WWF bought WCW, it was a bittersweet moment. I mean, WCW was really going down at the time. They really had no direction. And there was a glimmer of hope that WCW could be something good again in the WWF. However, we all know now the invasion angle really didn't go as we all hoped it would. So at least we get to look back today at some awesome WCW nWo figures and remember those great times in wrestling. Alright, let's dig into some of these bad boys here. We're going to start off right here with WCW Ring Fighters Booker T. Here we go, another Ring Fighters. You got to have the Stinger. Of course, who can forget Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner. Oh, we got a Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, as we all know, Bret the Hitman Hart wasn't really utilized the best in WCW, but it is kind of nice to have a nWo WCW action figure of him. The Hulksters. He's not wearing the colors. He went back to red and yellow here. Oh yeah, remember when he fought Sting as a bad guy? WCW, sometimes I had no idea what you were thinking. The man who ruled the world, Sid Vicious. I was a huge fan of Sid when he was in WWF, when he was going as Sid Justice. His time in WCW was alright. I just think Sid was one of those guys that just was never utilized right. I don't know if that was the Booker's fault or if it was actually his fault for just being a little bit crazy, as it kind of was known behind the scenes. Here we go. The guy for the shortest reign, I believe, ever in WWF history from WCW. Buff Daddy, Buff Bagwell. I think he lasted one night before he got fired. Well, here's a piece you'll probably never get again. A 4 Horsemen collection. I mean, you got Ric Flair, Benoit, Malenko, and Mongo McMichael here. And we know the 4 Horsemen was by far one of the greatest factions of all time. Even though this one might not be the greatest 4 Horsemen of all time, but it is still pretty awesome to have a 4 Horsemen collector set. Well, here's a guy who had an absolute ton of potential, but never ever got to be world champion, at least not in WWF or WCW. And that's Curt Hennig, also known as Mr. Perfect to a lot of people. I thought he was so great in WWF. He was the IC champion, such a great performer, and I really had hopes for him when he went to WCW, but they put him just in the back of the nWo, and then he was the country music group, and Curt Hennig was just never used right there. Love Curt Hennig though. I thought he was such a great performer and a great talent, but another guy that never really got used right. Oh, here we go. Celebrities in WCW. Okay, we know we had Jay Leno. We know we had David Arquette, Karl Malone, but probably the best celebrity that was utilized here? Hot Rod, Dirty Dog, Dennis Rodman. Actually, he was a member of the nWo for a while, hanging out with Hollywood Hogan. Dennis Rodman wasn't bad. Wasn't great, but probably the best celebrity wrestler that WCW had. The total package. Lex Luger. That's all I really have to say about him. Just never was a big fan of him. I just thought he was kind of Mr. Vanilla. He was the guy that was always like, oh, we need a new bad guy, Lex Luger. Oh, we need a new good guy, Lex Luger. Oh, we need a new bad guy again, Lex Luger. This guy would turn on you in a second or become a babyface in a second. Like, this was the one guy you could never trust in wrestling, Lex Luger. Okay, now if there's any action figures that are just too sweet, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, the Outsiders. These two guys probably right here are the main reason for the Monday Night Wars. These guys don't jump ship, go to WCW from WWF at the time. I don't think there is no NWO. I mean, without these guys, there's no Hollywood Hogan. These guys really made Nitro something special at the time. All right, we got a couple of these like versus action figures here. We've got Ric Flair versus Lex Luger, and we have Sting versus Rick Steiner. Again, another Bret the Hitman Hart action figure here. We got Hot Rod Rowdy Piper, bagpipes and all. Well, here's a guy I did enjoy watching in WCW, Vampiro. I really liked his look, and I thought he had a lot of talent. I really did like him when they had that whole like New Blood angle going on. He had some good matches with Sting at the time. Now, speaking of Sting, if any of you guys know me, you know he's my all-time favorite wrestler. So here I'm going to show you a couple of the things that I have of the Stinger. First, one of the Power Slam figures of Sting. You can see he has like a cardboard Macho Man I believe you're supposed to beat up. This Sting action figure right here might be my second favorite piece. I don't know if there's any more in the set, but I saw this Sting figure and had to get it. We've got one more piece to show off. Oh yeah, this is my favorite piece of all time. The 6 figures of Sting. Down here we've got 3 versions of Blonde Sting, and then we've got 3 versions of Sting later in his career. We've got the Crow Sting, we got the Wolfpack Sting, and we've got Sting after the Crow. Now, some people might say, well, Sting Crow and Sting after Wolfpack, they look the same, but they were very different characters. Crow Sting was the guy that never talked, just came down and beat the crap out of every NWO member. Wolfpack Sting was a completely bouncing off the wall, crazy Sting, couldn't shut him up, was howling, going crazy. Now, post Wolfpack Sting was the Sting that was like the hybrid of these two Stings. A little bit more conserved, but at least he talked. And one more little bonus, they're not action figures, but I know I had the Hollywood Hulk Hogan TV guide here at the beginning. But of course, you know I have to have a Sting TV guide as well. Well, that ends episode 2 of Looking Back WCW action figures. I mean, seriously, look at this thing. This is by far one of my favorite collectibles I have. I'm hoping one day I'll get an opportunity to meet Sting again and get this baby autographed. And what are some of your favorite collectibles that you have stashed away that you just can't get rid of? You know, leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear.